So what is your NIV doing? It wants you to think that that son is not just any son, but it's Jesus. That's completely made up.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Charles from North Carolina. I have a question for Rabbi Tobia Singher. I'm looking at my NIV version, Psalm 2, verse 12. It says, "Kiss the Son, lest he be angry," and so on. And who is the Son? And the Son is capital S. Thank you.
Well, that's what happens when you use a new international version. I would encourage viewers who worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob not to use anything that's called new, because the faith of Israel is very old and unchanging. This is not like detergent or soap, where you want the newest kind. This is the Jewish faith. And you want to go back to the original scriptures. When you use translations, which are commentaries, you get yourself into a bunch of trouble. Ordinarily, I don't recommend translations because every translation really is nothing more than a commentary. In Psalm 2, verse 12, the church altered the text, and the NIV didn't start it. It started a long time ago. The text says, Nashku var pen yena. What does that mean? Nashku, it's a command. It's also a homonym. So the word neshek can mean to arm, like if you're in Israel and they ask you, Yeshcha neshek, the security guard is not asking you for a kiss. He's asking you if you're armed, if you're carrying a weapon. And it's very important when you're going through Israeli security to get that one straight. Now in Hebrew, the word var means purity. So the text is saying in Psalm 2, verse 12, arm yourself with purity, pen yenaf, lest he be angry. What do the Christian Bibles have to do? Well, they'd much rather have it kiss the Son. So imagine you have Microsoft Word. When using your trackball or mouse, you select in the words, arm yourself with purity, and you type it instead, kiss the Son. And then you go further, you put a capital S on Son. Now that's really wild, because if you go to an NIV or King James, NIV is not the only one who does this. They actually put a capital S on there. I hope you realize why that's problematic. There are no capitals in the Hebrew language. So what is your NIV doing? It wants you to think that that son is not just any son, but it's Jesus. That's completely made up. There's no capital letter in the Hebrew language. If you spoke Hebrew, of course, you'd know that immediately. People would say, Zebaur. This is clear, bar levov, a pure heart. So whether you go to modern Hebrew, biblical Hebrew, bar means pure, clear, as in Psalm chapter 24, verse 4, Neki chapayim uvar levov, which means the one who has clean hands and a pure heart. Now tell me this, why in your NIV, why does the word var there mean pure, but in the 12th verse of the second chapter, it means son? Why don't you capitalize pure in Psalm 24? Well, the reason is that it has no Christological implications. Now, here's how the card trick works. You go, well, how did that happen? Well, in Aramaic, the word bar means son. There's no Aramaic in the book of Psalms. None at all. There's in other books of the Bible, not many, but there's some. In Proverbs chapter 31, Mar Bri, Mar Bar Bitni, what is this, my son, the son of my womb? So that's in Proverbs. So you have the king's mother speaking, and she's speaking in Aramaic. So be very, very careful, because you can have, if you're multilingual, you know that a word in one language has another meaning. That exact word has another meaning in another language. Boy, you can have a lot of fun with that. So all you have to do is change one word and suddenly you have a brand new message. Nashkuvar penyenaf means arm yourself with purity lest he be angry. One other point that Christians should know is the way you say son in Hebrew is ben. Okay? Ben. It's really a two-letter root. It's one of the most, as you can imagine, one of the most frequently found words in the Bible. All Tanakh, the word son is all over the place, as you can imagine. That's the word that would be used if the psalmist wished to convey that it's somebody's son. Moreover, in this very same psalm, meaning Psalm chapter 2, the second psalm, we have that passage, and Christians should know that. Why should they know it? Know it because we find it quoted in the Christian Bible. In Psalm chapter 2, but verse 7, it says, B'ni ata, you are my son, ani hayom yiladaticha, on this day I have begotten you. Oh, that's really familiar. Oh, that's in the Gospels. That means that Psalm 2 verse 7 here is so interesting. Psalm 2 verse 7 is quoted in the Gospels at Jesus' baptism. Okay? You are my son. That will be Mark's heavenly voice when Jesus is getting baptized. I don't mean to bring the New Testament into this, but it's really important here. That means that in that same chapter, but just a handful of verses earlier than verse 12, we have the word son, and the word there is b'ni. B'ni means my son. The root is ben. Right? It's the same exact word. So we can see clearly that if the author of that chapter wanted to say son, he would say it in Hebrew. Got it? I mean, I don't know if you understand how mind-blowing this is. The same chapter, verse 7, we actually have a legitimate use of the word son. Okay? Now, this is called an enthronement psalm, which means King David is being inaugurated by God, and he's warning the world. The context is that the kings, be careful. Don't defy the Davidic dynasty, and God's going to crush all of you if you do. Okay, so this is called the enthronement psalm. And in fact, King David then quotes God, you are my son. God is speaking about King David. And the correct word is used there, b'ni, right? But then when we just dial forward a little bit to verse 12 of the same chapter, it's the same chapter. I'm not kidding. Please, what do I always say to you? Please look it up for yourself. In verse 12, we have nashkuvar, which you're translating as what? Kiss the son? No, we already know from verse 7 that the way you say son is ben or b'ni, my son, right? How do you, play with the Bible? Moreover, just as an aside, if Psalm 2:12 said kiss the son, don't you think the Christian Bible maybe might have quoted that? Well, it doesn't, because no one made it up yet. No one invented it yet. So it's not in the New Testament. Moreover, I know what some of you guys are thinking. Some of you guys are wondering, well, maybe it's in the Septuagint or something. It's not even in the Septuagint. It's not even there. So here we have an example how we can have a passage, you change a word, and it's very transparent that the word's been changed because that chapter, Psalm 2, already uses the word son earlier on in the chapter, and it's not the kind of passage in verse 7 that Christians would miss. Why? Because it's very famous in the Christian Bible, in the Gospels, in the baptism scene. Okay? There's a variant of this is my son or you are my son, depending on which gospel and I'm not going there. You should know that already. So change the word ba means pure, clear. Zebaru or lo. Is this clear or not? That's how you say it in Hebrew. That's how you'd say it in biblical Hebrew. That's how you'd say it in modern. It doesn't make a difference. Bar means pure. It means clear. So what I say to people is this. I mean, you're watching this show rather than reruns of Seinfeld or Breaking Bad. That means you care about the God of Israel. You've got other things to do with your life, right? Don't you want to go to the original? Right? You don't want to watch a poor magic show, right, done by a 7-year-old. That's not entertainment. That's what's happening here. So just go back to the original, look it up for yourself. Thank you so much for your thoughtful question.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ועת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא עובר והוא יהיה